Howdy folks, I'm Autumn Witch, and welcome to the first in a series called 5 Minute Marine. In this video, for the first time in my hobby life, I shall be painting a Crimson Fist Veteran Sergeant. I will be using a mix of traditional and contrast paint with not an airbrush in sight. Welcome to 5 Minute Marine. So, 5 Minute Marine, I compiled a list of the 50 best known official Space Marine chapters along with stipulations for each, and we all drew at random. I drew Crimson Fist with the stipulation that the model have a power fist. So, enough waffle, let's paint our fisty boy. Starting from a Rattlecan Zenithal Prime, I came in with Vallejo Model Air's Imperial Blue. This is the closest to the official Cantor Blue by Citadel that I have. Vallejo Air paints are much thinner than regular paints, but still rich with pigment, which saves the need for a lot of thinning. You'll notice that this mini has been kit bashed from several different kits, points for anyone who can identify which. For the red, I am going with Corn Red by Citadel. This goes on the shoulder trims, the helmet clipped to his belt, his power fist and the glove on his right hand. Veteran Crimson Fists wear both fists as red. I then came in with Ushabti Bone on any parchment and the crux, then Black Legion Contrast on the areas that will be darker, metal or black. This gives great coverage. And Cadian Flesh Tone on the face. Then silver parts, namely the chest, Aquila, gun parts, power cables and the icon atop his banner, and a touch of gold on some details, and that is the base coat done. For shading, I shall be using a thinned black wash and a couple of contrast paints. For gold details, I used Guilliman Flesh to add some warmth to the colour. I also use it on the Marine's face, which comes out nicely and well shaded. For parchment and the crux, I use Skeleton Horde Contrast, which I also use on the hair for a sandy blonde look. I then grabbed the black wash and did a recess shade in the details of the red areas and a more liberal coat upon the armour to tone down that smidge of warmth in the Imperial Blue and get it closer to Cantor Blue. Also, it goes over the chest Aquila and any other metallics on the mini. Right, I am going to be using edge highlighting on this model, which essentially means taking a thin brush and painting straight thin lines in the right places. The best way to edge highlight up is to grab slightly lighter versions of the base paints. You know this already. In this case, Vallejo Ultramarine Blue for the armour, Wazdaka Red for the crimson, Vallejo Bone White for the parchment and hair, Cadian Flesh Tone for the skin, and Stormhose Silver to bring back those metallics. For most models that's enough, but if you want a little more flash, grab a lighter tone than your highlights and go in on only the sharpest points. In this case, Thunderhawk Blue on the armour, and a 50-50 mix of Wazdaka Red and Fire Dragon Bright on the crimson parts. You may have noticed I have left the chamber of his combi grav gun with the white base coat. This is so I can paint a simple, quick and easy glow effect. I mix 1 part Orc Flesh Contrast with the 4 parts of Imperial Fist Contrast and give it a coat. There are more detailed and fancy ways of doing it, but I chose quick and easy. Transfers for Crimson Fists are pretty common in most of the old Firstborn Marine kits anyway. However, the shape is awkward for applying on a curved shoulder pad. Whilst the symbol on the banner and the army badge on the left greave went on just fine with some decal fixer and decal softener, the shoulder pad was an entirely different pain in the arse. I am sure there are those among you rolling your eyes at what a pig's ear I am making of it. I just couldn't get it to work, so after about 5 failed attempts and 5 ruined transfers, I gave up and added a Devastator symbol instead. I later painted it red to match the traditional chapter markings. I really should have just 3D printed a chapter specific pad, but I couldn't be asked to set the printer up for one tiny component. For the base, you may have noticed this base topper. It is 3D printed and part of a really cool set that's very easy to find on most STL sites. I didn't print it specifically for this model, but I printed a massive batch of them for a big project ages ago and had a few spare. The components are pretty obvious, and I paint the skulls with Skeleton Horde, the space between is Snakebite leather, and I came in with patches of Militarum green while it was all still wet to give a bit of variety in the mix. When dry, I gave it a dry brush of Vallejo Bone White and then grabbed Vallejo Natural Sienna Pigment Powder to coat the base and lower legs of the model. Then all it needed was a blast of varnish to protect the paint, and Fisty Boy was ready to crimson up his mitts. And here we are. I'll never win any painting competitions, but this guy looks pretty good on the table. Crimson Fists were the original poster boys of Space Marines when 40k first came out, and they are still popular today. I hope you have found this video useful and entertaining, and if so, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. And I'll catch you again next time for another 5 Minute Marine.